Issa Touma, you are an award-winning photographer and curator based in Syria, famous for your short movie 9 Days from My Window in Aleppo. I have read your interview with respected journalist Patrik Paulov on extremist Syrians having free access to Western media and thought it would be a good idea to elaborate on your statements, which some may consider them controversial. Now, before I ask you about your observation in Sweden when you were living there, can you please tell us a bit about yourself, your background, your professional career? Why did you decide to live in Sweden for 2 years? And when did you come back to Syria and why?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Kevork, and I hope I can give the audience some new stories and some new facts about Aleppo's struggle. So for me, I'm an independent person. I don't follow anybody, and I was independent in my art, in my life, in everything. So I don't. Everything I talk about, I'm really responsible about, and I don't care if people like the reality or the fact I have it or not. So like that, I make many subjects as photographer. My my work comes in the museum collection, and most of the critic was this is real story. So that is what if I didn't do anything in my life, this is what I'm proud about, that I give the stories. I work a long time to give every stories what deserve it. So 9 days from my window, it was turning time for me because I never make movies before, or I make for art camping or something like for local art, but I never make really documentary. 9 days was my first one. Of course, I wait 4 years until I show it, because I was thinking at the beginning everybody have hot blood now, no one will believe anything. So I was waiting to everybody come tired from the stories of the war activists, whatever they are, you know. So in 2015, I feel this is the right time to show the movies. So I showed first in some activities, later become like bomb. It had been shown around 60 festivals and more than like 90 cultural center and event around the world. So in general, it was around 150 or 160 shows around the world. So in exhibitions in many places. Last time in New Jersey, also 2 months ago, it was in collective exhibition. It had been shown again. Still, the movie for many people, it's old from 2015. But it's new also, because a lot of people want to remember what happened, remember what the media tell them, and also like come back with the memory back, and try to understand what is going on. Actually, I'm shocked also about that, because still receiving messages for the 9 days until now, it's never stopped. Yeah. For Sweden, for second part of your question, for Sweden, I been there in 2016, but before that, 2015, also I spent 6 months in Graz city in Austria. Not completely, like always when I go to any area, so I travel a lot around to understand what the people thinking about our case, and also to understand what we can give them from the fact we lived for 4 years in the war. So for me, it was the life in the wartime. First 4 years, I never talk about in online, because I was really want to understand what is going on. Later, I start, of course, after I understand the games, after I understand the fact, I compared that with the international media and the local media even. And the war activists, I understand that I have a lot of good material here to tell to the people around. So this is shortly. 2016, I was in Sweden. 5 days later, I was in Paris at the Mayor Palace in Paris. So at Mayor Palace was my first shock. So it was the ICORN meeting there, because Paris is also one of the 50 cities of ICORN. ICORN organization who invite intellectual, especially writers. I was the first artist there. So to have like safe place for 2 years, invitation. So there I find a lot of people, they are not connected to the writing or anything, just war activists in the way we know them in Syria. So this is why was my first shock actually before Sweden. Of course I make reaction, and I talk a lot during the 3 days conference and meetings. It was like, I can tell you, wherever in the palace you look at around you, you can find Syrian activists more than any other nationality. Of course, I was in official delegation with the mayor of Gävle city from Sweden, Swedish official delegation there. So I had kind of the position in that place. So with the friend, because I was presenting the city who I will stay inside for 2 years. For me, it was really like that. That was the first shock before Sweden, but it opened my eyes, and that 3 days make my understanding really faster. So what's going on in the Western media, and how the war activists find their place to stay in Europe, and this is really important point, because like one of them was like from Latakia, and he was taking the talk, and he presented himself as the opposition party director. So I don't mind. I respect everybody's in his whatever he think about the political problem, but for me it was really like shocking to find that someone who's trying to give messages to the European, and he speak English well, and he just like presenting himself as fighters, 9 years in the jail and things like that. So I asked him, okay, imagine you are the director of the opposition party I never hear about during the war. I don't know if it exists or not, but I will take it as it exists. So what you remember thinking when they saw the director running away and living in Norway, and today in Paris, just in safe place, talking with the name of the party, you know? Why you don't come back to prove your ideas, to talk something about your thinking way? He said, oh, if I come back, I will go to the jail. I said, yes, you should go to the jail. Because you should go to the jail, because this is all the fighters around the world, they go to the jail to prove their idea. And when they come out, the society can decide to follow you or not. So this is the way I know I understand the fighting for freedom. But what I see it here is like really like group of the activists, very noisy in this conference in Paris at the Mayor Palace, but I don't see the message. So of course,
I attended a few events here in Germany, and I think it is also identical. A lot of Syrian activists, they infiltrated even political parties here. And one of the events that I attended was when the Islam army militants / terrorists were being bussed to the north. And in this event, even the Syrian activists, and alongside them, there was a German professor. They were telling the audience that the Assad regime, quote unquote, is ethnically cleansing the people from Douma, and they are sending the doctors, the engineers, and the scientists from Eastern Ghouta to the north, because the regime cannot tolerate any intellectuals living among them. It was a laughable claim, of course, but these are established facts, quote unquote, here also in Germany. that you cannot question. Now, your movie, 9 Days from My Window in Aleppo, and I was just checking on YouTube, received over 11 million views. Guys, I put the link in the description below. Go and watch it. This video is very important. However, if I want to go back a bit to your interview with Patrik Paulov, you said, and I'm quoting you here, when the war started, a lot of people in Syria, especially the secular ones in the cities, were shocked by the religious fanaticism in the uprising. You mean the uprising against the government. For me, it didn't come as a surprise. Quote ended. Now, to be honest, I was one of those who was surprised by the religious fanaticism among the ranks of the opposition. How did you see the growing extremism in Syria, in the Syrian society, when many others didn't?
Because the secular people was mostly in the cities, but I was person as photographer traveling everywhere in North Syria, of course, more. So I traveled between Aleppo and Tilbu Kamal sometime, many times. And I find every travel, I find more mosques and more religious people. In the beginning, because I make in my life many tours in east Syria. So at the beginning, you should walk really like hundreds of the village and to find one mosque. After American army entered Iraq, this is grow like crazy. Almost every small village, they have their mosque. And this was impossible to find it before. Of course, when you go to the village, any village, Syrian village especially, you can see like women sitting with the men together with the guests, because for them it's something like program. Someone, a stranger, come to the village. So this was going to disappear already before the war. 2007, it almost was difficult to find women only in the far village, so that they sit with the men together. Even like you can see like woman, it was normal to find woman giving milk from her breast front of the guest to the newborn child. So this is what kind of the images was going to disappear forever. 2000 already the country was ready for the fanatic movement, for the Islamic fanatic movement. So of course our Muslim friend here in the city and around and everybody, they didn't fear that at all. Areas like Sakhur and Karmum Yassar and things like that, they was already, because they have village background, most of them, so they have already ready also to enter into the Islamic fighting movement. So this is my friend, your friend, everybody's friend, they didn't see it. When I give them attention in Ramadan that there is people following people in the street between us and to ask them if they are fasted or not. So they say, oh, Issa, you always have strange stories. This is what the secular people tell me. So for me, I was just like feeling so danger, but I didn't know how to give attention of that. For me, when in 9 days only turned in my movies into fighters, into Islamic fighters, so it was not shock, not surprise at all, because I know that there is thousands of the followers for these people grow up between 2003 until 2010. Already 2007, they get control almost in large area in Syria. So I think they was ready already. They have to move around here, yeah.
Issa, after 2012, the city of Aleppo was invaded by the Islamists and half the city was captured by the Islamists. Now, during the infighting between the Islamist forces and the Syrian government, thousands of people died in the eastern part of the Islamist occupied area, right? But on the other hand, also the Islamists were shelling the western side of Aleppo with hell cannons, mortars, unguided missiles, Katyushas, gas cannons, name it. And they have also murdered over 13,000 civilians in the western side of the city where the government was in charge or in control of. Now, but the Western media rarely reported on what was happening in the western side of Aleppo, from shelling, acute a shortage of food, water, medicine, and electricity. Now, why the Western media was so much biased in favor of the Islamists in Aleppo, in your opinion?
I think the news, I think the Western news, they followed fast news. They didn't want to be tired. You know, when I talk to many journalists, European, American, and things like that, this is not the reality. They say, okay, I have friend, I trust him. He live in my city, and he telling me the story what is going on in Syria. So even I have like conversation with some of the journalists who come here, like American, who come to the opposition side and stay 15 days, but he was keep talking 5 years in the media about the Aleppo war. It's incredible because for me the war, it was changeable every week, every day, every hour. So we cannot get the news, right news. Impossible for someone tell, okay, I know everything what is going on in Aleppo. So Western media go lazy, go to the easy part, go that it's very, very like easy for him to write, to find any Syrian in Europe. And okay, look at his refugees, he come by boat, he was running away from the war in his city, Aleppo city or whatever, and write the story. He don't need document, he don't need what was the background of this person. So I think they go just to easy part of the stories because to the American journalist, I inform him, okay man, how you can report 5 years about Aleppo and you spend just 2 weeks here? He was shut up because he know what I mean exactly, because he should be here in some way to report what is going on. But he didn't want that. He was taking thousands of the dollar for his news. Like in Swedish TV, one of the Syrian activists, he's from Damascus, he's Christian opposition, and he was also in the Swedish TV many times in October 2016 when the huge attack happened by the fanatics from on Aleppo. This was the biggest attack ever happened, 2016. So he was in the television every day reporting about Aleppo. I meet him in Paris and also some other human rights conference. And he by himself tell me that he visited Aleppo 3 days only in his life, 15 years before the war started. So he become expert number one. He can understand every second, every moment what is going on in Aleppo. I think they was lazy, or there's program, they don't want to show the reality, or there is order maybe. This is, I believe it more, there's order to not show the real, what is going on in the city. For me, like also, I did something because media, because I was know exactly what is going on. You can see my stories like notes from Aleppo, also like you can see greetings from Aleppo. All the films and episode I made it was answer to the media. Like in Lillehammer in Norway, one of the activists say, "Oh, there is no Sunni left in Aleppo city." Imagine. If you come now, it's 1 million Sunni living in Aleppo city. So he was telling that to the PEN organization. PEN is writers, have very nice, respectful name in Europe, but I cannot believe it when PEN invite someone talking this kind of story without check it. Imagine during the PEN, peaceful PEN organization, he asked the people to push their government, 200 intellectuals in the hall, to bomb Damascus and to kill the government, whatever is going to be the victim, no matter how much victim will die. So imagine this kind of messages was, in bloody messages, was inside conference of PEN in Lillehammer. So I was there, I was mad. Even before I make my reaction, someone from the opposition himself, his writer, so he was telling them, are you asking to kill half of the Damascus people just to kill the government, to remove the government? He said yes, proudly. And this was taking protection and and also like maybe he get also nationality now, I don't know, from Sweden, from PEN and ICON organization together. They organized this meeting there. Of course, I react. Of course, I make my objection. I tell them we never, what you're talking about is right, because still Aleppo is Sunni city.
And these are also the same activists in the Western governments who demand more sanctions on Syria, saying that these sanctions are targeting the regime and the regime officials, where the fact is, on the ground, when you see how the central bank is sanctioned and how transactions are not allowed, and how the sanctions are affecting the capacity of the government to purchase the basic needs for its people. So it's basically they want to keep Syria, they want to convert Syria, turn it into a failed state, where the government is unable to secure the needs, and then these so-called non-governmental organizations and international organizations come in to be the one in charge of distributing food, medicine, fuel, and etc. So I think this is the conflict of morality between the people who oppose the sanctions and the people who are with sanctions, because most of the people who are with the sanctions are whether in Europe or in the United States, and they don't suffer from any shortages of these basic necessities, and they're sitting here behind their expensive desktops and trying to lobby in order to impose more sanctions on Syria. In my opinion, this is very selfish act from these activists and lobbyists, to be honest, because they're now also integrated themselves in the German political parties, especially those on the left, which is really crazy in my opinion, because the left should be against the war in Syria and against the interventions and the sanctions. But unfortunately, the left-wing parties in Germany, and I'm sure it's similar in Sweden, have embedded themselves with the NATO policies, especially on the foreign policy level when it comes in Syria, and now what we see in Russia and elsewhere. Issa, one of the important statements in your interview with Paulov is, I quote you, "Something I asked myself during the first years of the war was, how come the voices of the war fanatics were so loud in the West? I found the answer when I came to Sweden." What answer did you find, Issa, when you moved in Sweden?
Oh, that long, 2 years experience. So I don't know from where to start. I think first I find in Sweden that people really they don't search. And I find also they control everything. The government control, or the government, or what, I don't know who is it, but control everything to not any kind of the reality come out except the one they give it to the public. Later I find out that Sweden selling a lot of weapons to Syria, so I don't know who paid for that. Maybe Gulf, maybe someone. So I was shocked for many things, for many things. Later I was shocked why they should Sweden compliment Gulf country for the war in Syria. Maybe the Gulf country, they was buying the Swedish weapon and send it to the fanatics here. So for me it was many reality can be book also, because every week I was really angry when I see the media, or especially Swedish TV one, what they call it. I search and I go there for many materials to find out it's really completely opposite reality on the field here. So I think that's why the Swedish was really every single lecture I give it in Stockholm, Gavle, Uppsala, it was full of people. They want to hear different story. I remember my 2018 New Year talk in Stockholm. So they give me talk for 1 hour only. So the director, he informed me that you will have maybe few public only because it's Christmas time. I tell him, even with that, I want 100 share. So he put 100 share. It was over 140 people there. So for me, it was really like shock, really good. But later, the director of the center informed me that many people email him, "Why you limited his talk for 1 hour? We want to hear more." So I was sure that the problem was not that the Swedish people and the Swedish simple cultural organization. It was power there which is controlling this kind of news. Also in Malmö Human Rights Conference, it was the second open eye center for me after Paris. It was incredible control by the Muslim Brotherhood there. It's incredible. They control every almost room inside the conference. Inside the conference, they show my activities, my exhibition behind the talk for women rights, like Women We Have Not Lost, my subject, in Aleppo. But also they show the 9 day. So in 9 day, they become mad because Swedish open the Swedish people eyes. So immediately I saw them every 3-4 from the Islamic activists. So they was taking group of the Swedish and trying to explain the 9 day in the way they want. So there was, this movement, it was not a surprise for me, but I was shocked to do it in front of the international audience because it was big international meetings. So people come from all Europe. So this kind of things teach me that it's really like they are really organized well. And those people, they can change any reality. And if you have close to that very lazy journalist, he don't want to search more, so they can succeed. They can have voice every second, every moment there. I think in this case, Syrian case, like the Swedish forget to practice the law and practice their like the system they live, you know. Swedish society, I find out later, very honest to each other. You can tell everything, you can talk everything there, but in Syrian case there was something wrong. There was something is not going well at all.
Issa, don't you think, or do you agree with me that this biased, like, media coverage, the narrative that these Islamist activists spreading in Western societies, especially the Muslim Brotherhood activists, have paved the way or facilitated the brainwashing of the younger generation, especially from the second or the third generation Islamic communities in the West, and this has resulted in traveling a lot of the mujahideen into Syria, and also the wives, the women who were traveling into Raqqa, and I'm sure you know a lot of Swedish girls who were not even born as Muslims. They were indoctrinated because of the propaganda of the Syrian opposition, and they went to Raqqa because it was some sort of a paradise there.
Yes, sure, they will affect from that, because if you think, if you see all this advertising making them as hero in the media, for sure, a lot of young people who are 15, 16 years old, they will go to fight in any corner around the world. They are not, you are not giving them you are giving them kind of the Rambo images, you know. Look at this guy, he's like heroes, he's just like can do whatever. But also I don't agree with the ideas that most of the Muslims, they are fanatics or something like that. No, we are talking those people who are making all this noise in Europe, in the media, they are very limited minority. Majority of the Muslims, even like with a lot of ethnics from Syria, other ethnics, they go there for better life. And those people already never was in any activity. But we should ask ourselves why those people are still doing activity, why those people are still noisy from time to time. Because they don't have any other thing to do. No, they don't have any other things to do. They have jail. Normally they are poor people. They are just like use them in the war. They present them as hero, and today no one listens to them. So this is kind of to destroy them completely, because that's why you can feel why they are angry all time. You cannot make any discussion with them. You cannot talk to them. You cannot even simple ideas. They become completely jump and make you make any person who's not agreeing with them Nazi, Islamophobia, things like that. So this is not the case. You should sit. You should talk normally. You should see yourself in the mirror, where you was and to where you are going. Now he's in West. He cannot affect inside Syria. So what he should do, he should become European. So that is the way, the only way. I'm not talking, I will do that if I go to Europe and stay more than 6 months. More than 6 months far from my country, it's enough to change the situation inside the country. So it's not the same at all. Because the society here growing and making his rule, making his system, so far from all those people. If I live out of Syria, no one will remember me after 2 years. So that is it. And they don't agree with that. They don't accept that. So they would still think, you can see every post they do it on Facebook, that we are the Syrian, millions of us. They don't have million. They're just like few hundred inside all Europe. So just nothing they can do. They know that they cannot change nothing. Not here, not in Europe, nothing everywhere. Also, European also lost the hope from them, because at the beginning of the conflict, they give them incredible voice everywhere in the media. So what happened to them? They use it to make everybody trade. Every country have his hero. So who's the hero? We have the activists who follow Qatar, another activists follow Turkey, another activists follow I don't know who. Hundreds of the heroes. Every revolution should have image, and you should have board who can present the country or whatever the idea they want to talk about. There was thousands of the people, we never hear about them. Who are they before this conflict? We don't know them at all. Cultural organization in Netherlands clean them and bring artists, intellectuals from the street. We never hear about them. And they make book about them to present to the people, look at the intellectual of the revolution. So you cannot do that. Where is the respectful? Where is the historical, intellectual? Nothing. They bring hundreds of thousands of the opposition. We don't know anything about them. So how do they want the Syrian insight, to trust those people?
Issa, I think there are respectable Syrians, intellectuals, but they don't shed light on them, especially when the opinions held by this person goes against the mainstream narrative. I mean, one of the respected people in Syria are yourself. You are an award-winning photographer and a curator, and you have a very famous movie.
Yeah.
But during your stay in Sweden, your film was shown only in Gävle. Not a single film festival invited you.
That's true. That's true. Because I think what happened in the Malmö human rights, when they show the 9 Day there, they understand that this movie can change a lot of ideas. And this is mean changing so much political reaction against Syria or with Syria. And this is they feel that how much danger is. Like opposition, they become completely, imagine Gothenburg museums everywhere, Malmö, many cities. They choose anything they want to do about Middle East, they choose local activists, even if they don't understand about art. They choose them. And they control all that. How you want the 9 Day to come there? It's impossible, because they are the creators. They are there, not the Swedish professional creators. No, at all. They are the people who control the things there.
Issa, I think this is not only exclusive to suppressing the voices like yourself, but also distorting the image of a person, trying to do character assassination, trying to destroy the reputation of Syrians who hold different opinion, and they are also respected people. Now, because of my political activism in Germany, I've been targeted to organize smear campaigns by individuals, activists, journalists, huge media outlets in Germany and in the Arabic world like Al Jazeera. Have you experienced a similar experience, just like smear campaigns?
Not seriously in the way happened to you. For you, I was followed that. I was really like, I think if any person, any European who have really little bit logic thinking, he can understand that the people, you are pro-government, okay. If he have something to say, he should discuss it with you. So they never talk. The problem of the war activists there, you should accept the fact they have it, or you are traitor to the nation, to the all Muslims around the world, because every single of them, he think that he presenting all Muslim around the world. And this is so funny idea, because you can find them, they talk to you as really like person have position. In the end, he have Facebook page only. And I don't know, I don't care about them, even if they critique sometime or something. That's why I don't care about them at all. Even they have Twitter or something. So what can come from that? It's nothing. I think we should follow the head, who's teaching them, and then you can make the really change. Those people, I think they lost their anger. They want to find anyone, you, sometime me, sometime other person. So just to show his anger, to come everything out, you know. So that's why this kind of people, I don't take them seriously at all, because they will change nothing, you know. They have just that Facebook page to share something inside and nothing else.
I think, Issa, it's also very dangerous, these smear campaigns, because especially in Europe and particularly in Germany, where I think there are many Syrians who hold these regressive ideas and ideologies coming from the Muslim Brotherhood and the Wahhabism, and they may act as a lone wolf and try to
I remember what happened to you. Yeah,
physically.
Yeah,
I have experienced a lot of these physical attacks against me, and but this is all the result of the smear campaigns. The media puts you in the face of these Islamists without telling them that you have to act and do something against this person. They just mobilize the people and spread certain sentiments that make you a hated figure among this community. And I'm talking about this particular community who holds these regressive and Islamist ideas. And the result of that is you cannot walk free in the street. You have to always watch your back, because somebody may act at any moment, and it happened with me a lot. However,
it's happened to me also, that sometimes they come to my lectures and they try to make idea, but always when I try to talk logically, they was angry. And I remember in Hamburg one time what happened, like when I shot both my movies, you know, and one of the famous German journalists, he said, okay, we are understanding Issa's message from the movie, but we are not understanding why it's your objection about the movie. So I think logically, day after day, if they don't sit and talk normal way, as the Europe, they understand that way only, they will lose a lot. Even if they become aggressive, like to you, like happened last year. Yeah, I think last year. So I think they will be loser. They should learn how to talk to the others, because this is what the European civilization build on that. So also here in Syria, we kill each other for 5 years here in Aleppo. In the end, only way to rebuild Aleppo, to talk to each other, and no other ways. And this is they don't understand that. They still living in Europe, giving order to inside Aleppo, two people never remember them anymore. It's just like, I don't understand this kind of mental, still dreaming about the days when the magazines and the journalists, they would write about them. I don't understand. The problem, this kind of activists destroying image of the thousands of the other good Muslims who living in hundreds of thousands of the good Muslims living in Europe. Those people, they don't know that when they tell you, and they tell many other activists who not agree with them in the idea, you have Islamophobia, they are the people who building Islamophobia by this kind of reaction.
Yes, that's very accurate. That's very accurate. Unfortunately, these people are increasing tensions in Western societies and within the Muslim communities as well. They are creating vertical divisions among the Muslim communities and spreading these victimhood sentiments as well, that they are oppressed or suppressed or whatever. And this may lead to radicalization, some of the youngsters, unfortunately. However, I'm very happy that your movie has succeeded.
Thank you.
It has over 11 million views on YouTube. It's one of the biggest reaches of any Syrian movie has ever been made.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy that you won the prizes. Guys, if you want to watch, I encourage you to watch the movie 9 Days from My Window in Aleppo, the link in the description below. Issa Touma, you are an award-winning photographer and curator based in Syria. It was a really pleasure talking to you and listening to your perspective.
Thank you. My best regard from Aleppo city to all.
And I'm sure the fans of or followers of Syriana Analysis appreciate your insight. Guys, if you are new, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. It really helps me with the algorithm of YouTube. And if you want to support such an independent commentary work that I do on Syriana Analysis, please become a patron. Also the link in the description below, and see you next time.